Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about Framework 16 launch. So let's dive deep into it. So what exactly is this? Just a brief overview. Well, American laptop manufacturing company, and it started in January 2020. So you're like, wait a minute, this is a very new company. Well, yes, practically speaking, it's infant. And Naveen Patel, basically Narej Patel is the CEO, and it has around 50 employees. And here's the deal. There are so many laptop manufacturers, be it MSI, be it Dell, be it Apple. So what is their selling point? And they do not have the luxury of millions of units. So what are they bringing to table? They are bringing right to repair. What does that mean? That simply means they're building a device like the old days. So device is actually meant to last, and if you have any minor issue, you can just handle it yourself. It's not like this is made out of magic hulululu like Apple pretends to. It's like, oh, you can't touch it, it will explode. It's like, no, it's a device that you paid for. You can go YOLO on it. So it's right to repair. That's their core essence. That's how their hardware is designed. That's what is designed around. And Framework 16 is the second launch. The first launch was Framework 13. Now be mindful, those numbers are representing the size. They are not representing iteration or something like that. It's like 13 was this size, the first one. And it was a hit, which was a very unique, given the fact that it was a very brand new company. People had to take a leap of faith on them that if they do not exist, right to repair does not matter. They must exist. They must provide spare parts. They must provide all the ecosystem that is needed in order for this to be viable. People took a leap of faith, the company survived, and company even went through 3 upgrade cycles so far. Meaning, if you had bought it in year 1, on year 3, you could literally upgrade. You're like, hey, you know what? It was awesome and all that when I bought it, but you know what? I'm feeling like I need a more CPU oomph. You can upgrade it. So fundamentally, that's what they are bringing to the table. It's a new approach, and they do not have 10,000 lineup. It's basically desktop that looks like a laptop, so you can select your component as you wish. So Framework 16 is a big laptop, let that be very clear. And 16 is like 40 centimeters, so a 30 centimeter scale is small comparatively. So it's a huge laptop, let that be very clear. If you already have a bags for laptop and all that, be mindful, it may not fit in all of them. It's a big laptop. So what are they bringing to the table? Well, this time they are bringing 6 modular I/O ports. In the older one, they had 4 ports. Basically, you could, on both sides, you had 2 options where you could like, okay, I want a USB-A, I wanted USB-C, or I wanted, basically you did not needed ports, then you could have just populated it with SSD. So that was your choice. You can do whatever you need to do. Now this time it's just like, hey, 4 is awesome. How about 2 more? So 6, now you have even more choice and you can do amazing things with your requirement. And user configurable input deck, modular IO that was present in this 13 also, but this one, the keyboard deck, basically this input device deck, it's yours to customize. For example, many people will like, I do not like it in center, I want it to offset, so I'm using, if you are used to using a mouse, you would like to have it a bit offset. Here's the deal, you can do it yourself. No screwdrivers needed. Unlatch it, detach it using the magnets, and voila. So you can arrange it. And many people are like, I do a lot of data entering or whatever I do desire basically numpad. You're like, bam, a numpad. You could be like, you know what, numpad has no use to me, I want something else. Macro pad, bam. You're like, you know what, I want my laptop to be flashy, bam, LED panels. So go YOLO on it. Basically, it's up to you, and you can swap it. Basically, you can even have it like a mood based. You know what, few days on work days, I'm feeling it like this. Then when I'm not in work, I can remove the numpad, so it gives me a psychological peace. You can do that. So that was the idea behind it. And here's the interesting part. This has swappable GPU, meaning right now you can select your laptop quite effectively based on your CPU needs. Basically, if you need this CPU, you can find manufacturers that are giving you exact that CPU. No problem. Awesome. Here's it. What if you need a mild GPU attached to it? Let's say you are a worker who requires a lot of CPU grunt, but not a lot of GPU, but you do require some GPU horsepower. Yeah, you can't do that. In normal scenario, it's like both of them are tied together. Companies do try to do their best to give you the best balance, but here's the, what if your load is unbalanced? What if you are in a scenario where it's like, hey, I need bonkers amount of GPU, but I do not need bonkers amount of CPU. I want to rather invest all my power budget, all my money into the GPU. You can't do that. Here you can. You get to choose. It's not arranged marriage, it's love marriage. So that's really awesome. You get to decide, and that's the first time any brand who's actually able to pull it off. Be mindful, Dell, HP, Alienware, all of them have tried to make swappable GPUs. All of them have failed. So this time they have swappable GPUs, and it's your choice. Meaning you may even be like, hey, onboard GPU is more than good enough for my needs. Let that be. RAM is also desoldered, meaning it's not that. Now, wouldn't that mean there is a penalty of speed? Yes and no. Be mindful, the most high performance use case is servers. All of them have non-soldered RAM. So let that be very clear. And yes, the sodium package does make it a bit more difficult, but not impossible. And we have reached a point where unless you are looking at benchmark, you will not notice it. So RAM is unattached. That also means it's super easy to upgrade in the future. SSD, again, the SSD that is available now, you can be damn sure in the same amount of money, few years down the line, you can buy even more high speed, even more capacity. You can easily change it. It's not soldered. And you have Wi-Fi also, that is a completely non-soldered unit. Like, what's the benefit of that? Wi-Fi is a standard. There are many brands that releases upgrades to that Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7. It's like it could come with Wi-Fi 6 and you will like, you will wait few years, then you have a router. Now you're like, you know what, I would like to enjoy that speed, swap that Wi-Fi card. So in those sort of scenarios, not having those things soldered, it's a really big gift. And battery is easily swappable, and this is the most critical aspect. What companies like Apple will do, they will put the glue, the hell glue on your battery. The benefit of that is when you open it and you try to peel the battery off, it will most likely battery will bend, and those are prismatic cells. So basically they have a separator, anode and cathode, and rolled like this. So when you bend it, there is a very good chance you can cause internal short, and very good chance it could catch on fire, a very good chance you could die. And if that happens, they will be like, yeah, and then they're gonna do a press release. This is why we do not want you to open your laptop, because you could explode and you can die. But the reason was they made sure that it dies. Here's the deal. You have swappable battery in your DSLRs, your mirrorless. You don't think about it. So that's the whole point. They designed in such a way that it goes boom. Here, they're like, hey, that's a wearable component, meaning if you are a heavy laptop user, you know for a fact that an awesome laptop, Apple laptop, whatever hell else laptop, day one, it will be like, damn. Day 300, it will be like, okay, I'm not feeling as good as it used to be. Day 600, it will be like, dude, it's barely giving me backup, especially heavy users. So because batteries is a wearable component, meaning it's not quote unquote, sorry, there is dendrite formation. Physically, it's changing when you're using it. So it will lose capacity. It will lose its oomph. So it has to be treated as a consumable. Camera industry knows that. That's why batteries have swappable system. Here they are like, hey, we're gonna give you that. So Apple is like, what if you touch it, it explodes? Here they are like, hey, what if you have a jack, you can just pull it, and we have a tab, so you can pull it without breaking any pins. How about that? Meaning you have a perfectly functional laptop, just the battery is poofed, no problem. Swap the battery. Battery is tied down using screws. And this was Mark 1 variant. Again, engineering's first rule. First one is always garbage. So they are like, okay, this was good, great and all that. Then they upgraded it. Now it's much easier. You do not even have to, do swapping things. Here's the deal. I'm pretty sure this is a laptop, old days laptops battery pack. Back in the days, you could have swapped it from the outside. So they did it. Now it's easier. Heck, even the motherboard has LED now. So you can actually be visually sure when the laptop is completely open that lap battery is connected or not. So it's like they learned from that and they're making, hey, it's an easy thing. So after 2 years or 3 years, or maybe like, let's say you are completely happy, but you let the battery down too much. Lithium ions do not like to be discharged too much. Let's say it's completely wrecked. You did not touch it for 1 year. It's like completely bonked. No problem. Just swap the battery. So it's super easy. And a lot of little design improvements from the previous iteration, like the battery system, the fact the Wi-Fi antennas are very tiny, very fidgety. So they have a plastic cover this time. So it's much easier to handle. So all of these little changes made it much more refined, much more easier. And the fact the screws are captive, meaning you will not even lose your screws. It's like, damn. It's like almost like somebody wanted you to use this and take care of it. So this is framework 16. Okay, so how the heck they are achieving it? Let this be very clear. Many times people will say like, how the heck German engineering is like this and all that, or Swiss precision is like this and all that. It's never like education. It's never about things. It's always about philosophy, meaning you read the same science book or same engineering book as everybody else on the planet. It's just that philosophy, how you tackle a program, how do you want it to work out, that defines whether the product will be good or bad. So Fundamentally, they are going old school. During the 80s and 90s, the electronic equipments were so expensive, they were designed with a different philosophy. They were designed in such a way that it's like, hey, we are charging this much. If we charge a little bit more and increase the quality of the component, it will last much longer and people will have much more pleasant experience. And they're like, what if we increase it even a little bit more so you have swappability? As in back in the days, laptops were rigid components, meaning people still, let that be very clear, people still can be using Lenovo ThinkPad laptops that have been made in 90s and is still working. They kept swapping parts. It's still working. So fundamentally, the philosophy has to be there. It's not about technology, it's not about engineering, it's about philosophy. Do you intend it to last, or do you just want it to be hulululu, or what we call as planned obsolescence? Meaning, do you want it to be Apple iPod kind of technology where it's like 18-month warranty, awesome, you're gonna buy it, awesome, it's gonna work, awesome, but the moment 18 months is over, battery goes boom. And that happened, by the way, let that be very clear, that's a real thing. So this philosophy is completely, this is like, hey, you take care of the device will last forever, and if you have minor oops, you do not have to throw away the whole device. So they're making it to last, and they are saying no to glue. So that's the whole thing. It's like, you try to repair apart the glue, the battery bends, battery explodes, you die, and they are like happy about it, and they're like, this is why we do not want a right to repair, this is why we want to F your money. And it's like, I'm taking your money and Fing your property. It's like, just don't use glue for batteries. They're using it, that's the whole point. And how they are achieving the front plate modularity? Using this puppy. And if you have watched the old video, you will like, wait a minute, this pins look a bit different. Yeah, and I'm so glad to see a company actually showing how these things are done. I'm going into electronics recently, so I'm more in tune with this sort of thing. They were like, yeah, we were using fingers, they did work, but problem was because it was exposed to human hands, as in fingers, the pins would bend very easily if human touched it. And if you are designing it such a way where it's like, hey, humans can swap it out, you have to be more robust. So they went from those spring that was similar to how your SIM card holder works to pogo pins. Pogo pins are far more robust. They are used in industrial scenario where going wabam, 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 day in and day out, and they do not get damaged too easily. That's what they are using. Pogo pins for modular connector and magnets to hold everything precisely. Awesome. And expansion bay. This was the biggest breakthrough they had. It's like companies did try to make GPUs as a package where you can upgrade it. Companies did try to make multiple companies tried it, but their fundamental flaw was they were putting it inside, meaning they were treating laptop chassis as a desktop chassis where they're like, what if you go inside and swap things out? It never works. What they realized the problem was everything was inside. What if you put it outside? Back in the days, we used to have batteries there. Like this is exactly how old Dell laptops used to have batteries. You can just, almost every laptop had that. So you just detach it and swap the battery out. Same thing here. It's like, now what's the benefit? Now you have a completely independent air path flow. That's the critical aspect. You are no longer thermal throttling your GPU. And because it's completely outside, the PCB has a bit of wiggle room. Benefit of that is that you can fine tune it, tailor made it as you need to. If it's a low power GPU, do not invest money in a thermal solution. If it's a high power GPU, invest in a bonkers thermal solution. You have the leg room to expand. That's the whole point. That's why they can succeed while everybody else fails. Basically, they had the advantage of engineering's first rule. You build it first or you build it better. Other companies built it first, they built it better. So expansion bay is on the outside. That's the critical reason why this will work compared to everything else. And how the heck they're going to communicate? Well, they have a different connector. This was the connector they were started out with. This will give them 8 PCI 4.0 lane. Now, like, isn't that very little? Practically speaking, no. Realistically speaking, no. Like literally, you can try that with your system. Unless you are watching benchmark, you will not have that issue. And be mindful, laptop GPUs are far more thermal limited than they are data limited. So 8 lanes of PCI 4.0, be mindful, I have 40 series 4070 Ti. Even that puppy does not give a damn about PCI 5.0. It's like, bro, it's bleh. So 8 lanes for PCI 4.0, more than adequate for more than long enough. So you do not have to worry about it right now. On top of that, what about power envelope? This puppy is designed, basically these connectors are designed for 200 watts. And they were actually sharing that this connector is not from them. This, if I'm not mistaken, FlexLink or some other brand made this. And This was a good system, but problem was if a user was doing up and down, it was breaking too easily. The pins were unsupported. So what they did, they took this concept, patent and all that, and they redefined it in this. So older design, if you watch this was the, if you are seeing too much orange, is the older design. Newer one, what you can buy, has this. Basically, each pin is inside a plastic cradle. Basically, injection molded had increased so much, the pins is not physically exposed. You cannot, and damage the pins. Benefit, now this can go in and out multiple times without too much damage. So, and they are openly sharing it. I genuinely hate when Apple people is like, Apple is so unique, so custom. It's like, bro, you are buying the connectors. I know which manufacturer here. Like, I looked into it, which is the manufacturer that is giving you that connector. And they're like, yeah, this is the connector. This is what worked. This is what did not work. So we upgraded it. We worked with them to make it better. I'm like, thank you. It's not magic. So it's really good. And GPU bay, the fact that GPU bay is outside of it, that's why it can get custom cooling. That's why the airflow path is also very simple. No hululu, it's like done. That's how they are achieving all the things they need to achieve. So what about performance? Let this be very clear. If you are going to compare parts by parts, basically the CPU you're going to put into this or the GPU you're going to put in the, buy that in other brands, this will be same performance. However, this may most of the time will outperform all of them in long term. It's like how? It does not thermal throttle. So this is their second iteration, and they're not like, what if we F the customer? So it's actually well built, well thought through. They're not giving you components like back in the days, like one of my friend had bought a laptop that was so overpowered that physically could not work, meaning it was i9 performing worse than i7 because it was throttling so badly. So they are not giving you that option, and the cooling system is designed adequately. So compared to all other options, most of the time this will be like, damn. So it's really good in terms of long term. It's not just like burst performance is very good. It's like, I got this. All the horsepower that is available of the CPU and GPU is utilizable for long duration. Then how they are achieving this? Well, here's the deal. You can have vapor chamber. That's the best way of doing heat dump. But problem is they are very too expensive, and they are way too expensive. So what they are doing is removing another weak link. So instead of having that heat pipe as weak link, they're like, heat pipe does not manage to wick enough of heat away quickly enough compared to vapor chamber that it does not create enough temperature delta. So, okay, what's the issue then? Well, issue is the CPU is hot, the heat pipe is not that cold. So heat wants to go there. Okay, but problem is the weak link is the thermal paste. So what they did, instead of putting vapor chamber, they put liquid metal. Now your basically CPU, the hot part, can dump enough energy quickly enough into the basically low temperature delta heat pipes, and it's like, I'm like, here, let that be very clear. Heat pipes are awesome, but if you squish them, you will lose majority of their cooling capacity. That's another reason. Even though you see you have more heat pipes than my desktop coolers, a circular cylindrical basically heat pipe is super awesome. Squish that puppy, you lose way too much of its capacity. I'm like, even I was shocked when I found out that, like, that's why people want to go to vapor chamber, but vapor chamber is bonkersly expensive. So having liquid metal allows this heat pipe structure to be like not the weak link. They're like, hey, we have a bridge that is so good that even if the temperature delta is, let's say, 5 degrees Celsius, the heat just like, yeah, the path is easy enough, we're just gonna go. So that's why you can keep it. And the airflow is designed so eloquently, isn't it? Not like 12 fans or 13 fans. It's like, dude, air comes in, air goes out, done, go home. It's very efficient for heavy workload, meaning you can keep running this without too much issue. And the primary beneficial to people who have pets, who live in a dirty environment, or places where you have a lot of dandruff or hair or things of that nature, you can clean the damn fan. Primary reason why laptop people experience such a poor performance after a few months is like the fans are dirty and you can't clean it. Desktop is quite easy, just open things up, done. Here is like 2 screws, open things up, done. You can clean that, and trust me, that will have the biggest impact in long-term use, especially if you are living in a dirty place. Like if you're living in a completely good place where there is not even a single dust particle, you don't have to worry too much about it. But if you are in a place where you have animals, yeah, or sawdust, yeah, industrial places, yeah, in those scenarios you will be like, bro, that simple fact will make like, shut up, take money. I just want to clean the damn laptop fans rather than throwing the laptops away. And yes, people have done that. What about the power? They're giving you 180 watt power brick, and this power brick is a proper USB-C power delivery power brick, which is supporting PD 3.1. Now PD 3.1 is way too new. As of now, there is no laptop charger that does it, nor the laptop itself supports it. Many are under construction, but it's still new. And be mindful, the timeline for USB power delivery is 2026. Like, wait a minute, why? Well, European Union did fired missiles at every manufacturers, and they were like, hey, you gotta use power delivery. You cannot have your hook charger, hula charger. Everybody USB-C, everybody this standard. Everything was fine, but problem was laptop companies were like, bro, the current USB-C standard is not strong enough. They're like, okay, we're gonna upgrade it. 3.1 that allows you to go up to 48 volts and 5 amps. That allows you to around 480 watts. Everything is cool, everything is dandy. Problem is that's too new. So the timeline is till 2026. Laptops have to switch into this. And this supports it. Day one, you do not have to worry about it. Meaning tomorrow you can buy let's say a more powerful laptop, 240 watt laptop, power brick, and then you can even upgrade the GPU that consumes more power. You'll have that option. So that's a very good long-term plan. Like, why are they not giving 240 watt adapter? It's too expensive. There is not a single one. When I'm searching, making this video, I have not managed to find one. Like, you will see way too many power bricks that say 240 watts, but it will be like, yeah, it has 3 USB-C ports. All 3 combined is 240 watt. Most of them are still limited to 100 watts, 24 volts, 5 amps. So 48 volt, 5 amps. It's this puppy that's still rare. So, but do expect next year, as in 2025, more starts to flood in the market, and by 2026 it will be the mandated by law. So it will happen. So you will not be limited by the power brick. In their most of their testing, they are like, unless you are pushing it brutally, you will never exceed this power. But if you do exceed this power, it will not shut down your system. It will just start to drain the battery. So it's a still usable scenario in 99.99% of the time. But since just some odd scenarios, you may prefer like, hey, might as well invest into a super expensive power brick. Again, be mindful, other laptops will simply say, hey, I will not work. This is like, yeah, we have the option. It's like, for most people, this is more than good enough. If you want that, you can go there. So this is the performance side of things. So now we as a consumer have a choice. The choice is this the greatest laptop for the money you are paying? Short answer, no. Flat out. Don't, like, we do not need to go too deep into it, just no. However, then why you are paying premium for it? You are paying Apple premium for just to show people that you are richer than them. But what are you paying premium for in this brand? Well, repairability. Now let this be very clear. The longer the usage, the more it makes sense. In short, if you are one that kind of individual that throws laptop every few years, you may not notice it as, but if you are one of those people like, I buy a laptop and I forget about it. It's like, that's not a thing anymore. It's like, I bought the laptop, unless something super bad happens, I'm not going to think about it. It will make far more sense. Like, Apple made a planned obsolescence device. The keyboard was so bad that there was a class action lawsuit, and Apple's $1 trillion lawyer team could not defend it. It was that bad. And then Apple was like, what the hell? And then Apple was like, okay, let's F the customer. So they removed all the screw holes. Be mindful, you can still put screws. They put rivets in there. So keys will break because those are wear item. They are physically gonna wear down. Like same way your cars have physical access to the disc calipers. Why? Because they do wear down. It's a wear component. So it's a wear component. They made it so that you cannot replace it. So if you go to Apple's showroom, they're like, yeah, how about you throw 50% of your laptop away, and we're gonna charge you amount of money, and then you're gonna buy a new laptop, because again, we are charging so much. You go to independent shop, they will try to drill it out, they will try to do all of that jazz. Again, most of them will succeed, but it's such a tedious thing. They can't do it for low cost. So that's what you are paying for when you're buying Apple. Like again, they solder the SSD. So if case, let's say water happens, which again, you are human, you are surrounded by water or surrounded by liquid, things can fall into your laptop. You cannot just disassemble it and yeet the memory out of there. They're like, hey, what if you wanted your memory to be, because again, here's the deal. If you are any individual of any worth, the data in your device is more expensive than the device itself. You want that data to be safe. And Apple was like, oh, no, we cannot have you that. Then they're like, they soldered it. Somebody in Apple was a good engineer. It's like, bro, this is going too stupid. They created an isolated path where you could just electrically connect it to read the data of the system. Awesome. Then the Apple engineer, like product managers, like, what the hell? And then they're like, now you cannot recover the data. If liquid damage happens, and if you have not backed up it to the cloud, quote unquote, yeah, you did. That's what you are paying for. So this is a complete opposite to it. It's like, hey, let's say some liquid damage, open it as quickly as possible, yeet the SSD out of there. Once you yeet the SSD out of there, hopefully you will be safe. So that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the device and a bit of insurance that something bad will happen in long term. It will go wrong and you will have a fail-safe way of handling it. You could crack the screen, you could damage the keyboard, you could wear around the battery, which will happen. So all those things will not be a breaking scenario where it's like, oh, yeet the laptop. No, because here's the deal. You can yeet the laptop. Many people will say, oh, I can buy 3 cheap laptops. Here's the deal. Those laptops do not disappear. That's the problem with it. They become e-waste. And unless you have another planet to go to, pooping in this planet is, how should I put this, has consequences. So its choice is yours. You are paying a premium, let that be very clear. But the choice is yours. You're going to pay for Apple's premium or you're going to pay for repairability premium. And if you are one of those individuals who want to use your device for long term, it will make financial sense. Heck, they are so far thinking that they're like, hey, what if you have old motherboard? They're like, hey, what if we went with Cooler Master? And they're like, Cooler Master, can you build a new case for it? Awesome. Now you have a case. Now you have a 2 computer. So it's really good. And right now, where this company is in early stage of chicken and egg scenario. It's like how consoles have to be. It's like nobody's gonna buy the console if you do not have launch titles with it. Nobody's gonna build games if there is not enough console in the market. So there is always a chicken and egg scenario. So for them, it's like if they sell a lot of it, because everything is open source, specifically the modules, Asus can release a GPU. They're like, hey, we like the system. This is the constraints of it. This is the pin diagram. Okay, we're going to just build a system. If thousands of units are selling, they're like, what if we sell even few hundreds of it? It may justify it. They already have laptops, GPU. They're like, okay, let's reconfigure it. If it's low cost enough, they might try it. And if, let's say, framework is selling like hotcakes, they're like, shut up, let's try it. And if one company tries it, more other companies, then people are like, hey, buy a framework laptop, select the GPU later. Because same way we do with a CPU. And more things happen. More companies will be like, hey, what if this and that? So more sale equal more development equal lower cost. Right now, we are not there yet, but there is hope. So what is my verdict on it? Verdict is very simple. If you can take a risk on it, if you are not like cash strapped to a point where it's like, no, I need the last teraflops of compute performance, I understand. If you're in those sort of boat, that's up to you. But if you're not in those sort of boat, and the fact that you do not want your laptop to be thrown out because of this, and yes, this is the primary reason majority of laptop goes poof, you'll be like, shut up, spend money on this. You will be thanking me in long term. In short term, you will curse me. In long term, you're like, I get it. And once they upgrade more things, add touchscreen and add this and that, and like, okay, it's just a desktop that looks like a laptop, big laptop. So we all have a choice at this point in time. So this was my presentation on Frameworks laptop, second laptop. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst a friend. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.